on as I talk about it because people get very funny when you talk about transgender. You discuss transgenders,
So why?
and
Why? Tell me why you
I
saying that?
people feel a way about it because they feel like you're being transphobic, which means phobia means fear, right? Means
Hmm.
you're, which I don't understand how that's the case. Or they feel like you're being ugly or hateful towards them, and that's not the case. I love everybody. I don't dislike or feel a way about people that are transgender. I think they should have equal rights within reason.
What
Just
you
like
say?
I think,
Okay.
just like I think animals should have equal rights within reason, and I think black folks should have equal rights within reason. I think Asians and Indians, all of them, everybody should have equal rights. I think men should have equal rights within reason, but as a man, I shouldn't be able to say that I want to go in a woman's restroom as a
Mm.
man because
Okay.
it's
So
just a
who
restroom.
set the standard?
It's just a restroom, right? Well,
Because when you say I don't give equal rights within reach, it's like, so well, where do we start the standard? Like, who is setting whatever bar you're saying that makes it within reason? I guess that I'm hearing you. And again, I don't have no position. I'm just asking.
common sense is the first thing. Um,
Okay.
legislation, I guess, has to be a part of it, but that's
Hmm.
not always the best. And I think you should have some type of moral compass and base. And for most people, that is the biblications. All right.
Mm.
So I think the Bible, their faith,
I
if
mean,
you will.
you just said the biblications. I was like, okay, all
I'm
right.
being fun.
Well,
So this is my thing. So
mm,
Biden, he's coming under fire to some degree because of the whole transgender in sports topic. Um,
mm,
making it to where you can't discriminate, I guess is they're calling it discrimination as it relates to a transgender guy or girl wanting to play, or a guy that I'm trying to make sure I get the terminology right, that is now a woman,
Identifies as a
identifies as a
woman
woman,
now.
wants to be able to still play with the girls as it relates to sports. I think I understand why he's trying to be open with that, but I think it's a slippery slope, and I think it's dangerous. And if I put my own daughter in place of the girls that are playing that has a transgender that's playing with them, I wouldn't necessarily feel like it's equal. I wouldn't feel
mm,
like it's fair, and it can be unsafe to some degree as well because I don't care about this whole they taking all these different hormones or whatever that they're taking to be a woman. You're still stronger. You're still sometimes faster. So I'm not a fan of it. While I don't feel like anybody should treat someone that's transgender any way that's other than fair, as far as ugly and hateful and all that, that's not acceptable to me whatsoever. But as it relates to public bathrooms, as it relates to sports in the UFC. Show the young lady that's in the UFC. And as you know, I'm being respectful and saying young lady. She identifies as a lady. This young lady is in UFC, and she crushed the skull of a young lady that she was fighting against back in
mm,
2014.
mm,
That's not okay. That's
mm.
not okay. That's not fair, in my opinion. Tim said,
Mm.
with anyone, I would hope everyone has and strive to have equal rights. However, I hope someone's rights doesn't infringe. There we go. When it infringes upon my rights, that's where the problem lies to me. You guys have
So,
thoughts on this? I know it's a
oh
pretty
yeah,
deep situation.
oh yeah. Oh no, listen. I touch. I'm a touchy feely kind of guy, so I'm okay with that. Right. So this is the thing for me. Uh, I want to use a word since people had a problem with equity. I want to use another word: hypersensitive. I want to use this word, right? And hypersensitivity normally comes in when there's a lot of ambiguity or a lot of of high emotions involved in the situation, right? So, but the problem is, ladies and gentlemen, where we try to define everything in one basket. Like, I don't have a problem with, like you said, the transgender uh, community, but I have a problem when we begin to oversensitize things as it relates to you want to say that you guys are treated just like black people were in slavery. So you can't say that. Not as though you don't lose respect because you go through what you go through, but you begin to lose respect when you try to identify in certain situations and try to make them equal. Like there's no 400 years of oppression because of your gender change. You're not getting that. There are bad people everywhere, so yeah, people are gonna always discriminate. That's a different subject. But when you try to oversensitize a situation and you are forcing people to feel a certain type of way, but then you fabricate certain areas, that's the problem. Let's respect what you guys are going through, right? And then let's just call it what it is, but don't try to overhype it by saying, see, it's just like y'all. What y'all had to go through, we going through. That's not the same, y'all. Yeah, it's not the same.
So my touching point is, and I agree with Britton. I don't, and like you, Lamar, I don't have no problem with transgender, male, female, whatever. We have them in the military, so I mean, no problem with them at all. It's just when you try to link their dilemma with overall oppression, and like Britton said, you can't link the two. You can like look at them and say, okay, well, what's the difference? It's a personal preference of, oh, I don't like you because you want to identify as a female. That's a personal preference. It wasn't a personal preference to be hated because of the color of my skin. It's not a personal preference. So when you introduce the fact that it possibly could be okay for them to play in sports, again, that's when you touching the sport, you touching something that
you're overcorrecting something.
Yeah.
It needs to be organic, right?
Yeah,
it needs to happen organic. Maybe just because, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I want to piggyback on what you're saying before you move on to something else, because I didn't say anything about the sports. So like you said, Lamar, there is a difference, like the whole Joanna Man thing, when people play these parts, what I'm saying? There's a reason why they wanted PGA and LPGA. That's why we have women's basketball and male basketball. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, at best, the best thing a woman gonna do playing football, and I'm a apologist, just it is what it is. She's gonna have to be a kicker, because you know what? When it's all said and done, and again, just hear my words. Don't overhype what I'm finna say. I will defend a woman if a man hits her.
Right.
Point blank. Right? I will defend that. And even if you guys suggest that y'all want equal rights, but I promise you, the way I was raised, if a man strikes a woman in my presence, I don't care who it is, I'm gonna deal with him. Right. That's just who I am. And so there's some things that you're just not gonna get rid of, no matter how hard you try. But because they're wanting to overcorrect, right? They want to say, "Oh man, we've mistreated them, so let's do this." No, you're not. Listen, you're creating a butterfly effect where you're trying to fix something and you're about to create this whole nother area of problems, right? Because it's going to be an issue.
So I saw your comment, Lisa B. I want to read something that I read on Politico. It says lawmakers in at least 6 states plus Congress this month introduced bills aimed at limiting opportunities for transgender athletes, hoping to curb the rights for the same group of people for whom President Joe Biden just restored military service access. The raft of legislation is intended to keep transgender female athletes from competing on sports teams in elementary schools through college that don't match their sex assigned at birth. The effect of most of the measures would keep people assigned male at birth from competing in girls' sports. Supporters of such limitations have a champion in the White House, with Donald Trump, who rolled back protections for transgender people that President Obama created for school, as relates to school. One of Biden's first actions after being inaugurated was to issue an executive order saying that a court case about transgender rights applies to Title IV, a federal education law that prevents discrimination based on sex, as relates to sports and other things. So that's the source of where this information comes from.
So
there's Congress folks right now warring against it.
And I feel they would, because it's scary, man. Because okay, so you introduce the fact of a woman that wants to identify as a man. Let's say that woman, you allow that woman or man now to play football, professional football.
Mm-hmm.
Linebackers in the NFL, they run a 4.5, 4.4 40. They weigh about 230, 240 plus, and they're about 6'4", 6'5". They're no small, especially those linebackers coming out of Alabama. So let's think about this. You get a girl, you get a transgender female that wants to play male football in the NFL, and the minute she gets hit or he gets hit the wrong way, there's no coming back from that.
Then there's a
Dwayne,
lawsuit.
but see,
There's a
Dwayne,
lawsuit.
I think anytime we try to justify it, they're gonna get upset about
I
us
mean,
trying to.
I'm
that's my
not
issue.
sitting up here trying to.
And
I'm
that's
not sitting up here trying to justify it.
I'm saying your
that's my
logic is
issue.
correct. I'm saying
Yeah.
your
Like
logic
that.
is correct. Go ahead, bro. I'm just saying
I
his
think
logic
it,
is correct, but they're not gonna accept it.
and I feel like that's bullying. Like it's hypocritical and bullying to me to tell me or tell anybody you can't have an opinion on it. You got to accept whatever we say our rights are as transgenders. You got to accept it. Matter of fact, if I say if transgenders fight to have the transgenders be in the same shower as my daughter, I gotta accept it and shut up, or else I'm being homophobic or transphobic or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think
that's
that's right. That's not okay to label people those things
and
because they
let's take this.
have an opinion.
Let's take this back further. I do not agree. Again, I am not against homosexuals. I am not homophobic, but I don't agree with how Congress and legislative actions are taken to protect how they feel. It's like their feelings get hurt because they don't feel like they're equal to everybody else. But nobody is caring about how we feel. Nobody cares about what we feel, and nobody has cared about what we feel. But the minute that the LGBTQ community goes and protests about they want equal rights and they deserve equal rights, they get it.
And that's the thing. I don't have any feelings towards gay men playing sports with men or gay women playing sports with women. I don't. It ain't got nothing to do with the LGBTQ community as a whole. It's just the transgender. I can't wrap my hand around it. And as it relates to my daughter and my son, I don't feel like it's appropriate.
I can't.
And I don't feel like it's safe.
We're trying to create
safe easy.
We're trying to create a.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We're trying to create a space that has never existed. Like
it's never existed.
And this is what I'm saying. Yeah,
we're trying to insert a round ball into a square peg. It just ain't. It just don't fit.
Right. The thing is that the difference is like Brittany said about them starting their own sports team and get rid of so somebody's going to manipulate. That's what human beings do. We want to find an advantage. And so if once where transgender men can now play basketball, well, guess what? Some college is going to put 5 transgender women on a team and they're going to be blowing out everybody else. And then all of a sudden, when they have manipulated and taken advantage of that situation, then guess what's going to happen again? Everybody's going to be up in arms again. So we're creating a space, and I'm done after this. They're creating a space that has never existed, but they're using it in a way to try to cherry pick different things from other histories in America and saying, oh, we're being treated just like the blacks, or oh, we're being treated just like the Indians, or we're being treated just like the men. You can't do that. You gotta if you're gonna create your own space, you gotta let the chips fall where they may.
You can't create that, man.
To round this out, my suggestion, which might be taken as offensive to, I feel like if it ends in gender, male gender, female gender, transgender. It's a whole gender to its own. There should be its own. It should have its own separate transgender restroom, transgender sports. If you're a whole new gender, that's what I feel like. I mean, I don't see what the problem will be with that. And I want to say this to anyone that's offended, because you can't have this conversation without people getting offended. I want you to know this conversation was a conversation in love and honesty. I can't fake it. I can't fake like I agree with something when I really don't. But I have to be honest about my opinion. I think that we all share that attribute. While we love everybody, we think everybody should have rights. Nobody should be beaten or bullied or ostracized or any of that. But we have to have common sense as relates to laws and what's acceptable. What's next?